Welcome to the Fun Astrology and Merriman Market Analyst Saturday Financial Podcast. I'm Thomas Miller. Thank you so much for joining us. This is the free weekly newsletter that is published every Friday night. We do it on Saturday from MMAcycles.com from financial astrologer and market analyst Ray Merriman. One of the people who basically created financial astrology has been doing this for over 50 years. This is the newsletter released on Saturday the 17th of August for the week of the 19th of August. First of all, a story from Wednesday's Wall Street Journal. Inflation extended a run of cooler readings in July, sealing the case for the Federal Reserve to cut interest rates at its meeting next month in September. The Consumer Price Index rose 2.9% from a year earlier, the Labor Department announced Wednesday, the lowest reading since 2021 and slightly below economists' expectations of 3%. Core inflation, which excludes volatile food and energy items, was at 3.2%, also a three-year low. And then from the Wall Street Journal on Friday, an article entitled "Markets Are Way Out of Line with Reality" from James McIntosh. He says, I'll consider three gauges here: the CAPE, the cyclically adjusted price earnings measure, the forward price earnings, and the Fed model. All show that the offer being presented by Mr. Market, as legendary investor Benjamin Graham personified it, are unattractive for large U.S. stocks at present. They are expensive compared with smaller stocks, foreign stocks, corporate bonds, and treasuries too. If these measures are right, the rebound of the past couple of weeks is a fool's rally, and it's time to switch away from the biggest stocks. End quote. Now Ray's comments in this review period. As expected, he says, this Mercury retrograde cycle is doing something unexpected. Instead of its usual pattern of 1 to 4 days swings up and down in global stock markets, this Mercury retrograde, also known as the trickster, started with a mini panic crash into August 5th. Instead of reversing every 1 to 4 days, several global stock markets have made higher highs every day since it turned retrograde. It looks like a primary cycle low occurred right on the date the trickster went on stage, faking a financial collapse, and instead turning that low into a buying opportunity. But now, as we enter the midpoint of Mercury retrograde, we have to wonder if the rally is also a fake-out involving the resumption of the bull market. You have to be careful when the trickster is in the spotlight, especially if Uranus is also highlighted, which will be the case on Monday, August 19th, when the full moon makes a T-square to Uranus. In Asia and the Pacific Rim, all markets except China's Shanghai Composite followed the same pattern of an important low on August 5th, then a smart rally into Friday, August 16th. The SSE, however, continued to fall into a new 6-month low on Thursday, August 15th. China's stock market and economy are suffering greater stress than most other major developed nations at the moment. European indices all stuck to the same beat. That is, all bottomed around August 5th and 6th and rallied sharply into the close of Friday, August 16th. The U.S. market did the same. However, Brazil's Bovespa index surprised everyone by soaring to a new all-time high on Friday. Gold had a stellar week, exploding to another new all-time high on Friday as it tested $25.50. Silver also performed well, rallying to test $29 on Friday, a gain of nearly 10% off the prior week's low of $26.50. Bitcoin had an inside week, trading between the low and high of the prior week as it tries to determine whether it's in a new primary cycle, bullish, off its multi-month low of August 5th, or is it embarking on one final phase of a decline to an older primary cycle, bearish. Crude oil is pretty much in the same boat as Bitcoin, having bottomed on August 5th at $72.16 and then spiking up to a high of $80.16 on August 12th, only to pull back sharply again to a low of $74.52 on Friday. Now, the short-term geocosmics. In terms of a geocosmic weather metaphor, you have to consider this current period like a high storm alert warning. A slew of powerful geocosmic signatures are underway, with the midpoint occurring on Monday, August 19th. It started with Mars conjunct Jupiter on August 14th, and with the moon in Jupiter's ruling sign of Sagittarius, August 13th through the 15th. The Dow Jones Industrial Average gapped up that day, and in fact exhibited a bullish island reversal, which is usually a very bullish chart pattern. It's a gap down previously that is then followed later with a gap up, both gaps creating a vacuum over the same price zone. August 15th through the 17th finds the MMA Solar Lunar Reversal app indicating a high. August 16th and 17th is the midpoint of this Mercury retrograde cycle, which often coincides with a price reversal plus or minus 2 trading days. Since the stock market is making highs at this time, you would anticipate it to reverse down. But given the bullish island reversal chart pattern and the presence of Mercury retrograde, that may not happen. Typical of the trickster, you get conflicting signals or fake-outs of buy or sell signals. Thus, our policy is to hold off on entering new position trades until the retrograde cycle tricks end. This is usually a time band for aggressive traders only. Monday, August 19th, however, is the center of this cosmic storm. This is when the first of 3 passages of the Jupiter square Saturn in mutable signs, as in unstable and erratic, takes place over the next 10 months. Adding intensity to the mutable square is Venus in Virgo, which will make a mutable T-square with Jupiter and Saturn also on Monday, August 19th, while adding Mars into the mix. Venus conjoins Mars on August 23rd, and that ends this cosmic logjam for a few days. But the cosmic play of August 19th also contains a powerful full moon, with Uranus sitting right between the Sun and the Moon in a fixed sign T-square. This full moon T-square with Uranus is still close enough to involve Algol, and thus to touch off that Mars-Uranus-Algol conjunction that took place in mid-July when the Dow Jones Industrial Average, S&P, and NASDAQ all made their new all-time highs. Is this to be a cosmic case of déjà vu all over again? We note that 2 of the signatures unfolding August 19th have an 80+% correlation to sharp reversals, plus or minus 4 trading days. So it might get very wild here. It's also interesting to note that the Democratic Convention in Chicago begins on Monday, August 19th. With all of this cosmic shock and awe in effect, astrologers will be watching closely for any signs of unusual activity related to the trickster, Mercury retrograde, and the disruptor, Uranus, at the midpoint of the full moon. This ought to be a real lesson in mundane astrology. With Uranus, you expect protests. With Saturn, you might expect heavy security and police presence and arrests. With Mercury also retrograde, you might be better off not to expect anything too specific, because whatever you expect, it's likely to be something else entirely. Think of surprises, maybe chaos, and possibly inspiration. There is a third and final section in this week's newsletter, the longer-term thoughts on the U.S. election where we are now, with some very interesting astrology on both candidates. Ray talks about their both having regal-like self-identities. He talks about both being born on full moons. But around here, we are doing today at 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon Pacific, the third of our speed reading events. So we're on abbreviated time ourselves this morning, and you can watch if you'd like to. The viewer pass is on sale a little bit off now, $14.97 if you'd like to jump on that and view today. You can still buy that at the top of funastrology.com. So if you'd like to hear about the political analysis that Ray wrote up for this week, just hop over to MMAcycles.com. The free newsletter tab is up at the top, and you can get Ray's comments on that, including he even talks about RFK and the whole third-party thing. And then maybe we'll see you on the viewer pass this afternoon on the speed readings, and regardless, we will be back here on Monday. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your weekend. Thank you so much for listening. See you Monday. Bye-bye.